Hello, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Allison Ziegler. I'm the creator and founder of Allison Ziggy. And if you are watching this video, it is because there is a new moon and it is time to set some potent, powerful intentions. The practice that I'm going to be guiding you through today, we're going to have a high-level masterclass so that you can see how to work with the energies of the new moon in order to most effectively set intentions for a 6-month period. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of why we're setting 6 months intentions, how you can use this most effectively, and then you also have guided journaling exercises that correspond to the journal that you should have received. And then you will also have access to a meditation. The meditation will be part of this bundled masterclass, but then you will also be able to access it as an audio file to be completed whenever you desire with this new moon. So I am going to start and share my screen with a quick presentation. New moon guided intention setting. So the first thing that I want to really just draw your attention towards with the journal, whether you printed it out, whether you have a physical copy of it, make sure to write down today's date when you are setting intentions. This practice is as much for your future self as it is for your present self. So you will just want to make sure you know when you're writing these goals for. So in terms of the new moon, intentions. Intentions are honestly my biggest life hack. When you set an intention, it's really setting out a powerful signal, and it's also just communicating what you perceive to be your responsibility in the exchange. Whenever you're manifesting, it's not that you have to go out through brute force and action and make everything you want happen, but you do have an active role to play. So with intentions, this is kind of you stating what your part is, you really setting forth what you're looking to experience. So in the nature of this, I wanted to set an intention for this training, for this masterclass. My intention is just to give you a time neutral resource. You can watch this whenever there is any new moon, anytime you find yourself wanting to refresh and set new goals. So wanted to just provide this to you so that every new moon you are equipped to set goals. That was my number one intention with this. So within the new moon journal, there is also a calendar. So this will tell you when every new moon is happening throughout the year. This calendar specifically is showing you 2024. Now, there's a few things that I want to call out within this. So the new moon actually follows the same sign astrologically as the sun sign. It's the full moon that will differ from the sign that you're in. Let's say that your astrological sign, you can actually tell if you were born on a new moon if it corresponds with your overarching sun sign. So that is a fun fact. So whenever we're talking about new moons and why we're setting 6-month intentions, it's because so for example, this new moon in Capricorn in January, the corresponding full moon in Capricorn takes place 6 months later. Whatever the new moon is, if you're looking at the entire lunar cycle from an astrological perspective, it takes 6 months to reach completion. So that's why whenever you're dealing with the moon, there are 2 different ways that you can approach this. You can approach it from a perspective of a 6-month cycle, or if you're just in need of quick energy, you're really looking to set potent intentions and really connect to yourself, you can also look to set the intentions from in between the most recent full moon, or excuse me, the new moon and then the next full moon. So you can kind of play with time however you want. So there's about 2 weeks between now and the next full moon. So if you are looking to close out a cycle, if there's anything that you're really, really looking to add fuel to the fire, definitely you can also use that as a concept of time. So you're either setting this with 2 weeks in between the new moon and a full moon that is not necessarily corresponding, or if you're looking at this from a full cycle of planting seeds and planting intentions, you're doing this in 6 months as evidenced by the astrology. Now, in terms of the astrology with the moons, you can get as granular or high level as you want here. I personally look at this from a very high level perspective. The only time I really pay attention is when I know that it's in my corresponding moon sign, which I know through looking at my birth chart. The moon's in Libra, I'm like, okay, maybe this energy affects me a little bit more than some of the other moons do, if it's a astrology sign that's in your chart. I don't go that deep with it because I find that this serves me best as a frame of reference. I find this serves best just grain of salt. I think about it in terms of if you're really needing an extra boost, this working within these things within the calendar is just an added hack. It kind of just helps accelerate your energy. It's like you're working with the laws of nature. You're working with what is going on externally in order to achieve your desired outcome. So corresponds. So new moon happens around once a month. So there is going to be either a new moon or a full moon every 2 weeks. pretty much. You pretty much have one new moon, one full moon every month. And it's the same as the sun sign. Next, new moon rituals. I know the word ritual can seem scary or like what's going on. It is all completely up to you how you do this. I don't do the same thing every new moon. You can if you want, but I find that once a month it can get a little bit busy. You typically have things going on. We all have lives, but I think about, so I did how to think about the moon. And then we talked about the new and the full moon. Working within the different signs is something you can do. I do it from a high level. And then setting intentions is the same thing as planting seeds. So this is personally the way that I've broken it down and kind of how I coach and teach on it. Now, ways that you can do a ritual. Rituals are just meant to honor yourself. It's what you can do to physically solidify your intentions. I have some incense going. The scent feels good. It's like anytime I light a candle, I like to set an intention. So just creating a space and creating an atmosphere when you're setting your goals can just be that much more potent into tapping into what you're creating. Now, on the next few slides, I'll talk about the goals and the intentions that you set within the new moon, but really you are the authority here. Like if you think that if you don't like the way the candles smell, like don't light candles. If you think like, I don't like baths, like don't take a bath. Like do things that actually feel good for you. You can set your intentions by going on a walk without headphones and just thinking about where you want to be in 6 months. These practices are just completely up to you for how you want it. The guided questions in the journal are designed to help you connect to your future self and start thinking about what you want your life to look like. And these are just extra things that you can add on to kind of take things up a notch, take things up a level. I do personally, my favorite energetic hack is just cleaning a space. It's the sign that I send to myself when I'm like, I'm ready to bring in more is when everything that I have is like tidy and orderly and ready to go. Palo Santo sage, really good for clearing energy. Meditation, always really good for solidifying intentions as well. So the journal itself, I already pointed this out, but make sure today's date, that's the part that's the most important. You want to remind yourself when you're doing this. Lighting a candle if that feels good for you. Fill it out for you. Don't like, nobody's judging you. Nobody's looking at this. Nobody's grading this. I don't see what you're filling out. Do this as honestly, like if you fill this out honestly, you'll get honest results. And the other thing I just want to mention, it can be tempting sometimes this can be called manically manifesting, but when you're setting goals, it can be kind of tempting to write the same goals over and over again if they aren't happening. But if they aren't happening, it's either because it's not the right time yet or it's on its way. And so I really encourage you not to latch on and just write the same goals month after month if you are completing this as a monthly practice. Just it indicates a lack of belief. So if you trusted that the goals that you're setting are inevitably happening, what new goals would you set for yourself? Or what would be the next version of the goal that you would set for yourself if you're building upon this? So that's probably my best tip with that is if you're setting a goal today and then you come back to this practice in a month, set the goal as if everything that you already wrote down in that first version of the journal already happened, unless it changed, because you're allowed to change your mind too. One of the most important, or I would say one of the most impactful takeaways that I've gotten through these journals and through doing these practices of setting intentions based on time is the goals that don't manifest and the goals that you don't hit are sometimes just as valuable as the ones that you do hit. And this is intention setting one-on-one. So I look at the goals that I've set that have not manifested, and manifested is just gone from concept to reality is how I look at it. It's something where you go from thinking, I would like to experience this to I am actively living this out and experiencing it. So when you set a goal from abundance or this place of like, that would be really cool to experience. That is such a different energy of, oh my gosh, if this doesn't happen, my world's going to fall apart and it's going to be terrible and I need this to happen. Those are two different energies. And if you're approaching your goals from, I need this to happen so that I can feel good about myself, those are less likely to happen because there's so much ickiness lurking under the surface with that. The point of these exercises, and I really think one day I'm going to find a different word that I use other than planning, because I think that it can sometimes be a little misleading, but we're not predicting our lives here. You're not setting these 6-month intentions so that you know exactly what your life will look like. And if it doesn't, it means you're a failure. That's not the point of this. We want to have fun. We want to connect to the highest, most expansive, most exciting versions of ourselves, even if that's just an emotion, even if you're just connecting to yourself and you're seeing a simple moment in the meditation and you're having tea and you're laughing with a friend, that is a win. You don't need to have everything figured out about your life. So I already mentioned that there's just as much value in the goals that you do hit as much as there are in the ones that you don't, but just don't make it mean anything. This is kind of like, okay, let me sit and daydream and use my imagination and think about what I would like to be experiencing if anything were possible. And just thinking about it from a purely low stakes, fun perspective. And this practice is as much for your future self as it is for you right now. Decorate and get creative. The muscles that you use to manifest are the same muscles that you use to create. So I like to, the reason that I include my artwork, number one, I like creating it, but the reason that I do it is because I want it to be approachable and I would just want to encourage you to connect to your own creativity and just your own form of self-expression. That's going to look different for everybody else, whether it's using a set of pens that you really like to decorate or just having fun with it and doing this completely for you. It's so low stakes. And again, especially with the moon journals, it's like, if you don't like what you set, you could just do it again next month and it doesn't matter. If you completely change your mind about what you want, like that just means you're growing and that just means you're changing. So embrace that and be excited. Okay, so let me stop sharing. And if there's any questions, you can put them in the chat. So this next part is the meditation. And as I do with any masterclass or any session that I'm leading, I like to prepare by going through what I'm going to be asking you to go through and what I'm going to ask you to experience. And with this meditation, I was meditating and I was thinking about my life in 6 months. And there were too many variables. They were like, do I want to be living in Europe? Like, do I want to be doing this? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And it was like overwhelming to think about what do I want my life to look like? And so through this process of experiencing that, I was able to see like how beautiful would it be to just be in this moment now and to actually use the environment that I'm currently in and just to imagine what my life will be like in 6 months from this current vantage point in this current spot. And so an idea that I came up with, and this is something that you can play around with whenever you're writing in your journal or doing your intentions, is almost thinking about the energy 6 months from now and what would you be wearing? What would you be how would you look? And maybe even wearing something that represents what you would be doing in 6 months if there's seasons, just so that you can kind of tap into that energy and connect to that version of yourself. Or you can even just imagine yourself wearing that in the meditation. But I wanted to offer that up in terms of, and then we'll get to the meditation in a second. And in terms of duration for doing this, you can do this every month. Do it as often as feels good. If you're doing it because you think you need to do it, you're going to get a different outcome as opposed to, I really enjoy this and I'm going to do it because it seems like something that I feel like I want to do. So intention is just your biggest key to any door. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get ready to meditate. I invite you to go ahead and get comfortable. I invite you to uncross your legs, uncross your ankles. I invite you to sit, relax, and tap into the present moment. And the way that we connect to the present moment most effectively is through the breath. I invite you to put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and take in deep conscious breaths through the belly. And you can feel it whenever you breathe in, you can feel your belly expand. Breathe up through the chest and release. And with your feet firmly planted on the ground, I invite you to imagine little roots coming out of the soles of your feet, connected to the core of the earth. And when you do this, you are creating a direct link and exchange with the earth. And you're able to send neutralizing energy. You're able to receive neutral energy, and you're able to release anything that doesn't serve you. And today, we're going to be playing with the concept of time. I invite you to look at your life. And oftentimes, when you think about your life, there's kind of a perspective that comes to mind. Like when you're thinking about the future, you think about it in a certain direction. When you think about the past, you're thinking about it in a certain direction. So I invite you to face the past, whatever direction that represents for you. I invite you to travel back. You can imagine yourself running back. We are going 6 months from now, 6 months in the past. I want you to observe yourself. And you're just overhead. You're kind of just energetically spying on yourself, if you will. And you're observing where you were at 6 months ago in your life. And I want you to imagine the things and the desires and the wishes and the hopes that you had for yourself. Now, instead of observing and spying, I invite you to sit down with this past version of yourself from 6 months ago. And while this isn't a full release episode exercise, this will get us where we're going in the future. You're sitting down with this past version of yourself from 6 months ago, and I want you to fill yourself in on all of the amazing things that happened. You're sitting down with your past self, and your past self is asking you, what happened? Like, did this happen? Did this happen? And I want you to approach this with this conversation with the utmost love, respect, and appreciation for yourself. So as you're sitting down with this past version of yourself from 6 months ago, really communicate what's happened that you feel proud of. And maybe relay anything that is still in progress or still unfolding, or maybe you thought would happen but hasn't yet. And the two of you are just catching up and falling even more in love with yourself and just this appreciation, and you're seeing the light in your eyes as you're telling your past self about all of the amazing things that you've accomplished and all of the things and challenges that you're facing currently. You're filling your past self in on, like, this is where I'm at now. So you can imagine yourself present and yourself past, and you're running towards the future. And you stop, and it's 6 months from now, and there's a third version of yourself. And this is the future you. So you're with the you of the past and the you of the present, and you're observing the you of the future. Again, first from this overhead perspective, and you're just marveling. It can be an ordinary, everyday moment that you're observing. It can be a big moment that you've been actively manifesting and looking to experience. But you're just overhead and you're observing. What energy are you perceiving? What is going on in your world in 6 months that you're able to pick up on energetically right now? Can you see any signs of what's working for you? Can you see any signs of growth? See yourself on the other side of challenges. Connect to yourself in this moment. I'm going to give you a few minutes, a few moments to connect to yourself. And you're still just observing. And I'll let you know when you can communicate with this version of yourself. But right now, you're just observing. When you feel ready, I invite you from the present and you from the past to join the you from the future and celebrate with this version of yourself. All three versions of yourself, past, present, future. You're seeing yourself in the future. And what's happening? Any questions you would ask yourself? Ask yourself those questions now. Remaining connected to the breath, asking any final questions and getting any final information, taking a second to just really connect to this future energy. You get to experience it, but it's fun to experience it a little bit now. And I want you to thank the past version of yourself first. I just want you to thank the past version of yourself. You can give yourself a hug. Just say, thank you for helping me get here. Thank you for everything. With that, you send the version of your past self back to the past. Now it's just you and your future self. You've released the past. You're connected to the future. You can think if there's any final things you want to ask your future self. Otherwise, just thank your future self and say, I'm so excited to meet you in 6 months. Give yourself a hug. Maybe a little tighter hug. Connecting to the breath and going ahead and releasing that future version back to the future. You're turning around and you're running back into the present moment. Now take a moment We're still connectedly rooted into the ground. We have our feet flat on the ground, still connected to our breath. We just did a lot of soul searching. So before we come back into the room, we're going to do some energy clearing just to make sure we are the most whole, complete version of ourselves before we inevitably make the path towards the future version of ourselves that we met today. So I invite you to imagine little antennas coming out of your head. And these antennas can connect to your favorite constellation, your favorite gathering of stars, star cluster, anything that just makes you, anything that you associate with creative energy. You connect to this creative energy and you just feel it flowing in through your body, through the top of your head, through these antennas. And this is just connecting you to any insights, any ideas, anything that it will support you in becoming the version of yourself that you're actively on the path to becoming. And with this energy, you still have the root energy, the earth energy coming in through your roots. You have the creative energy coming in through your crown. And the two come and mix in your belly, kind of in your solar plexus. And this energy is mixing and it's just grounding you at the same time while you're connected to cosmos, connected to the creative energy. Now that you've connected to all this energy, and we've brought in creativity, and we've grounded and neutralized, the last thing we're going to do is just connect to your own unique energetic essence. We do this through connecting to a gold sun, and I invite you to imagine a gold sun overhead. And the gold sun and the gold light just seals in all of the transformational energy that you just experienced today. And this energy, you can just feel the warmth on your skin. And you can just feel anything that doesn't serve you just falling away. I invite you to just stand tall and stand firm. Put your hands on your hips and look up to the sky. And just feeling strong and feeling supported and feeling grounded and feeling like you are capable of anything you set your mind to. And just knowing that setting the intention is enough. You get to have the things you desire. And it is enough. Feel this gold sun just sealing in all the energy we just created. We're going to solidify this finally through the breath, breathing in the biggest breath you've taken all week into your belly. Breathe in, hold at the top, breathe in a little bit more, and release. When you feel ready, I invite you to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, roll your wrists, maybe roll your neck, roll your shoulders. When you feel ready, I invite you to come back into the present moment. Welcome back. Thank you so much for taking the time to complete the meditation and for being with me through the masterclass. The New Moon Journal awaits. I can't wait to see what you create. If you want to submit any testimonials or any amazing transformational stories, please submit them to inquiries@AllisonZiggy.com. I love to see your transformation, and I hope this practice helps you as much as it has helped me. Thank you so much, and here's to the best 6 months you've ever had. Thank you.
Thank you.